What's up, guys? It's Tim with the Gutter Growth Podcast. Today I got a special guest. I have Kiva Geiger. He's an author, speaker, and a sales coach. What's going on, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah. How's the weather out there for you?
It's normal Florida stuff. It's probably like 80 degrees.
Oh man, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
I need to work on my tan a little bit. So
no doubt, me too. I used to get really dark when I was out there in the field.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's just different though. You're more for the vacations is the only time you get dark. So
that's it. Or burnt.
Oh yeah. Actually, I was just in Florida a couple weeks back and I got burnt, man. It's pretty bad. But yeah, it was worth it. I was over in Venice Beach. I was doing some swimming and they got a lot of shark teeth out there, man. So
that's true.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I got some scuba goggles and I was just swimming. I actually found a couple.
You get like the little black ones?
Yeah. It's crazy to think that's a fossil, man.
Yeah.
So I got fossils, dude. It's crazy.
You should have seen it when I was a kid, man. It's not the same. Like back then, like you could find buckets of that stuff every time you went. Like now you still find them, but yeah, like back in the day, it was like you could go home with a bucket of them.
Oh man,
over there on the West Coast, at least.
Yeah, it was funny. One of the scuba guys, he was telling me, I was asking him, I was like, "So where are all the shark teeth?" He's like, "You got to swim a mile out." And then I looked at him, I was like, "I don't have the equipment for that. Not today, man."
Not today. And that side of the Florida is warm too, so I think they got more sharks.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, especially just on that Gulf Coast, man. There's a ton of them. I was kind of hearing the same thing. There's just, depending on what side of the beach, if you go north or south, I believe you went north, you would actually be lucky enough to find them. And then, if you're not swimming for them, I guess you're just buying them.
Yep. I have a one that I keep on a chain. I haven't worn it in a while though.
Oh man, I think this is the
great white tooth.
Yeah, it's about that time to bring it back.
Yeah, I might.
Yeah.
Okay, man. So we're going to talk a little bit about mindset today.
Yeah, we are. And not just any mindset, the 7-figure mindset.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. What you got?
Yeah. So, I think a lot of times as business owners, we think about, where we hit like certain levels. So to give an example, when I used to work with companies like in the HVAC space, as well as some in like the roofing and gutter space, there's what they call, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this, is the Facebook friends and family. That's your first 500K, right?
Yeah.
You're making, you maximize on your community and the people that you know and you love, and that's your first 500K. And then, they always talk about hitting your first million, right? There's a lot of emotions that come into place. And, I really wanted to lead the conversation into a lot of your experiences and my experiences about, educating business owners. If you're stuck at the 500K and you want to excel to the first million, and then, what's the next steps going after that? And, you and I were just recently chatting about, you just starting, I believe it's your 6th business. Is that right?
Yeah.
You
got 6 now,
Yeah, I know. Right. So it's, not everybody can do that. And you have a lot of tools in place to actually, help you create that. And to me, that's also a mindset play too, right? You have to be thinking different. You have to surround yourself with different people in order for you to, create your first million and just keep going from there.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I definitely got a good team around me. I couldn't do without them. So there's a lot to be said about who you're surrounding yourself with, like kind of the trajectory that you're going to go.
No, 100%. What I've actually really noticed is the majority of business owners, what'll happen is, as you grow, right, in your business, a lot of your friends might not be growing at the same level that you are. And it's very difficult, right? Like we talk about like the emotional wall. It's what I've seen sometimes business owners go through, including myself, is self-worthiness. Like, am I actually worthy of hitting the next million? But then I'm realizing the circumstances and the people around me aren't doing the same thing. And the challenging part, it's like, you got to go and find those circles where there's people that are actually smarter than you, doing more than you, and are in the right place that you want to be. And so, like for you, like, who do you surround yourself with? Like, who do you connect with? So then you're always thinking like, hey, I'm in the right environment. So then when I'm out of doing business stuff, I'm still thinking like a 7-figure owner.
I mean, it's mainly my partners, right? And, because I got a nice little circle. But the thing is like, you're not always able to get around the right people. They might just not be around you. And so like, you could follow them. Like, so on my news feed, like everything I'm following the right people on my algorithm, like Alex Ramosi and, Gary Vee, just a ton of influential people. they have the mindset that I want to have, right? So I mean, we can't always physically get around the right people; they just might not be there. And for like a long time, I felt like I was always trying to bring my friends up with me,
Mm-hmm.
almost like trying to force them up with me.
Yeah.
And I blew through a lot of relationships because of that, to be honest with you, because people don't want to be forced to grow.
Yeah. Because they're so attached to, um, it's like, you know how it is, right? It's like they're so attached to the old way. They're what's comfortable. And what you're doing is always putting yourself in discomfort. And man, I'm like you, man. I'm always seeking like what is the most uncomfortable place that I can be in, to personally grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Oh,
Basement flooding, roof leaks, mold.
No. Have to clean the gutters.
Go back to sleep, honey. We installed one gutter guard.
Prevent unexpected and costly damage from clogged gutters. Protect your home with one gutter guard, the trusted solution for gutter protection. Call us today to schedule your free gutter inspection and estimate.
Oh, yeah. But also I almost forgot. I wanted to do a soft intro of myself, a little bit of my background, so some of the listeners can know. So again, my name is Kiva Geiger. I'm a mindset coach, author, speaker. My goal is to empower business owners with the right information and the right mindset so they can not only grow themselves, but grow their teams. And, I'm really, really excited to talk to you more about that, Tim, because, I think there's a lot of good information out there, and, we can get lost in the sauce, right? And it's important that we're really find the right resources. So I'm really happy to, kind of talk about the resources, talk about the mindset. And again, if you're looking and feeling like, man, I'm at the Facebook friends and family, but I'm ready to go to the next level, this podcast is really going to hit home for you. So yeah, let's do it. So, like something that was coming to mind is, you're talking about, like your circle of friends and networking, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I had to realize, it's like, there's always saying it's lonely at the top, right?
Yeah.
And, I actually got a chance to coach, actually Alex Hermosi is one of, 150 of his personal sales reps on a specific offer. And, I battle with that too, because, I used to share that story with certain friends, and they're like, yeah, right. Like how'd that happen, And, the reality of it is it's, I trained the right people, I connected in the right rooms, and it happened. And, thinking about like putting yourself in the bigger rooms and following the right people online, that's exactly what I do. I follow a lot of influencers in marketing spaces and sales spaces. I've changed my algorithm to, instead of watching these crazy videos, I'm trained my mind to just be constantly thinking about growth, because entrepreneurs, business owners think the same way. Right. And, a big thing that's like for networking and stuff, I'm, really curious about your experience in it. Like, where do you go to network? Like, where do you find your tribe, your people that, are thinking like you?
I mean, I like conventions. I go to quite a bit of those. Mm-hmm. I know you probably do too.
Yeah.
So
the paid ones, right?
The paid ones. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's why we created the Gutter Summit, because this particular industry is kind of lacking in that department. Mm-hmm. I'm sure HVAC's pretty solid on it. Same with roofing, but us gutter guys are always kind of like behind on everything.
Yeah, but the thing about it is like you've created a space to bring, like-minded people together, right? That want to uplift their business. They want to have the right resources, because, like we talk about like the limits in your business. The limit in your business is always going to be you, and whatever you like. I like this saying. It's like whatever you're in resistance to is the thing that you should be doing. And I think about that a lot, because every, like the event I was just at this last weekend talking about networking, right? I paid for the flight, paid for my hotel. I had to pay for the event as well. But the beauty of it is that I got to be in a room with people that are making 7 figures or more. And, I'm talking to a hedge fund guy, private money lending, guys that are in the chiropractic space that are just crushing it. So not limiting myself to just, one specific space, but creating relationships in different areas. That is really what's like really helped me, like level up. and asking them questions. Like I think about like behaviors, like our behaviors are who we are.
Mhm.
So, Alex Hormozy talks about behaviors all the time, right? And our behaviors actually shape who we are and the actions that we take. So I think about internally, I ask myself questions like, what does the 7-figure version of me do? What actions do I take? How do I show up? How do I show up for my family? How do I show up for myself? How do I show up for my business? How do I show up for my employees? Because I don't know if you kind of see the resemblance there. It's like you're training your mind to think completely different and put yourself in different environments.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I'm reading a book right now. I just finished it actually, and it was talking about how like it starts in your mind, and then it becomes a feeling, and then it becomes you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
And
know that
it's bridging
exactly.
that gap. It's like, because you have to see yourself as successful or capable of being successful, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of us don't have the feeling to match it. So it's like we're thinking it, but we're not feeling it yet. And it really doesn't become you until you think and feel it. And it kind of meshes together, and then it's you. So it's kind of like what the book was about, but it's so true.
It is so true. I've read something that was very similar. It's like a thought becomes a belief becomes an action, and then an action becomes like the way of being. So the person that you are.
Yep.
And so, being
Character.
able, yeah, right. So it's like, how do you catch yourself in the very beginning of that? Like, so for you, like, what's Tim's way of like really coaching himself mentally? What do you do?
You know what I'm starting to do? And this was in that book too, and it's actually working.
Yeah.
Because we all have bad habits, right? Nobody's perfect. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like when I'm starting to see my mind shift into like a bad habit or in that direction, I just say out loud the word change. Just say
Ooh.
change. That's it.
Okay.
And then
yeah,
your mind like snaps because you're commanding it now. You're like change. Eventually it picks up in your subconscious mind.
Yeah, no, I really agree with that. That's actually an area that typically when I work with some business owners, like the first couple of months, it's really mindset.
Yeah.
So it's like instilling that belief system, because if it's like if you worry about something all the time, then what's going to happen? It's like the thing you worried about that you didn't want to happen. Yeah, it's like you just manifest it. And so there's this there's this book. I used to listen to this guy like literally I put the book, like the audio book, near my pillow. My girlfriend would get so upset with me, but I have to put on the lightest volume. And I was like trying to train my mind subconsciously to like think like this, but it's by Joseph Murphy, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. It's a great book. You can get an Audible.
I read it.
Oh, you read it? Oh, so
yeah.
you know the magic, man. So a lot of his sayings were, he would talk about like whatever you decree in your mind will decree in your reality. So if I'm constantly in a state of fear and worry, then I'm only going to create more problems in my experience. But it's like prayer, right? So if I'm meditating on my fears in my business or in my personal life, like you already know where it's going to go. So then the challenge is like, I like what you're saying, where you decide to change, right? Change my thought, change my behavior, change my habit. So now I'm in a growth mindset. And so then I'm thinking about all the positive things that I can come in my business. And like you, man, what I always think about, like to kind of reframe myself. I picture myself on a baseball field, and I just imagine like I'm up at the bat and I'm just hitting a home run after home run after home run. That. Yeah. It's like I can do it every single time. I can repeat the same process again and again.
It's you feeling like a winner.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I actually think about the emotions and the feelings that I get, and a little cool.
That's bridging the gap with the thinking and the feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like because again, it's like you can make yourself like sad. It's easy to like think about something in the past and make yourself sad, but
listen to a song.
Yeah, right. But what I do is I tap into the future, and then I tap into personal experience as a kid that I was most proud of. Right, like my first, when I played soccer professionally, like my first professional goal was like the greatest feeling. Right, playing baseball, in high school and hitting my first home run, like I just like embrace the emotion, the feeling of excitement. And then I just think like, yeah, that's happening. Like it's happening right now. The universe is concluded that this will happen to me, for me. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, that like gets me excited, and it gets me out of that place of like worry and frustration. Cause I know I know what it's like to be worried. I know what it's like to be frustrated. But like you, I want to make a drastic and radical change.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to do that is like how you talk to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And there's this pattern that I noticed when I was at this event, and even like talking with you too. It's like polarity, right? It's like you can't have the front of your hand without the back of your hand, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, so there's a version of you that has all the things that you want, and there's a version of you that does not, right? But the way that you show up as when you have all the things, I think that's probably the most impactful way to like
Mm-hmm.
see yourself, you know, like meditate on that, write it out, you know. I've been doing this recently. I've been going on a lot more walks,
Oh,
and then just talking to myself in positive thought, like almost positive affirmations.
like a meditation walk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, because again, you are your thoughts, you know.
Yep.
You are your thoughts. And to me, I don't want to be I was doing this exercise with an entrepreneur, and he does about, he's like you, he's got like 6 businesses, and he essentially, you know, the conversation was really cool because we were talking about the owner and the victim. So are you the owner in your business? Are you the owner in your experience, or are you the victim? And so we did this exercise of kind of writing out like where am I the victim, and then where am I the owner?
You know, I did this. I didn't go to college, but I took one class. It was a speaking class, and I only went there just to do the speaking class. They kept trying to talk me into it. I'm like, no, I want this.
Yeah.
So I did it, and I had this speech, and then I'll never forget it because I thought I did great. And then at the end of it, the teacher says, you know, you can't come across as a victim. I was like, you know, I kind of hurt my feelings in the moment, but that was really impactful because it's like really changed how I looked at things and how, like, you're not the victim, you know, and so you should always kind of go at it as with a victor mindset, period.
Yeah.
But it was just, that was like an impactful moment for me.
Yeah.
Someone calling it out, you know?
No, I know what you mean. And how did that like shape you as a person, like after going through that experience?
Yeah, I just never wanted to be a victim, be perceived as a victim again, you know? And so I don't know that it really hit me until maybe a couple months later,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I don't know, it just didn't. But eventually, I mean, this was years ago. This was like 8 years ago, and it still affects me.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, I don't know, it's just, you can't be a victim. And what it was, I was talking about, like, my experience getting my gutter company launched at the time. Because I was going, like, through all this trials and tribulations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I just was too focused on the trials and tribulations at the time.
Yeah. Man, I know what you mean. I think, but in reality, it's a part of the process. Like, you have to go through the trials and tribulations. Like, I think, you know, we all think we can like skip past it, or, you know, like the distraction, you go on social media and you see somebody that's already living in that experience. And so then it just like, you just 10x the pain of you not being where you want to be because you're trying to, you know, it's like the FOMO. Cause like for me as an entrepreneur, I had a lot of FOMO where, you know, I'm seeing other people, you know, like I started at a certain pace, and then I'm seeing them go past me. And then I'm like, what am I doing? What do I need to change? How, you know, and then you start going through trials and tribulations, right? Like, it's a part of the process. But I think, you know, kind of going back to what we were saying before about like, what, you know, like, what do you make things mean? That's a big thing for me. So in your mind, if you create a meaning around an action or a bad experience, so it's like, oh, this customer just canceled, this means my business isn't going to happen. You know, it's like you create this meaning, and then it's like you're attached to it. So your attachment creates suffering. So you being attached.
So this is what I found.
Okay, so you're telling me my clogged gutters caused all this? I had no idea.
Yeah, unfortunately, most homeowners don't think about their gutters until this kind of stuff happens.
Wow.
Prevent unexpected and costly damage from clogged gutters. Protect your home with One Gutter Guard, the trusted solution for gutter protection. Call us today to find out why more homeowners are choosing One Gutter Guard.
To that meaning of the reason why your business is not where it's at ends up being the reason you suffer.
You know, I noticed that a lot with guys. Like, they'll post, you know, I did this estimate and someone beat me because they're so low priced, and they're like hyper focused on it. But like me personally, like, I don't know, like if I don't win the job, I literally will forget the person like the next day. I'm not thinking about it again.
Yeah.
I'm just focused on the next job, selling and getting enough leads to where I'm not really worried about the couple people that I don't sell. But it's just
Yeah.
like they get so hyper fixated on the competition and their low price and not
Mhm.
winning the job, and then they think the whole market's going down. Then they start lowering their price, and it's just like all downhill from them.
Oh, I know. And then they take away from the quality of the work. It's like, oh man, tariffs are happening. It's like now I gotta make this adjustments and stuff. And then I think I got an ad saying like, oh, we used to be on Temu. Now tariffs have hit us. Now we have to do our business in America. It's like, at the end of the day, what I realize is like, there are customers that will pay, right? And there are always people that are looking for your services. I think a good example was I worked with a property manager. They would work with property management companies, right? Very similar to what you do, and they get these contracts with these apartment complexes, and they would do all the cleaning on the gutters and stuff. And I had a chance of actually working with the account manager and a little bit of the business owner, but most of the account manager was taking care of the business, right? And we're talking about when COVID was about to hit, and everyone is like, oh man, like what's going to happen next, right? But we did something very similar to what we've been talking about, where we focused on what is possible, like what can I do? And the biggest thing was actually the calling. I was like, you had the most control calling and showing up in person to creating opportunities versus sitting in your chair and not doing anything,
Right.
And then, blaming the world shutting down and it's nothing.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's like, well, so we know that doing nothing will get you nothing. So go do the hard thing. Go do the thing it's like, I'll go and do the thing that most people will not do because I know that they're not willing to do it, because I know that I can get a result from it. I know energetically, if I just keep consistent, and our big focus to kind of like put it into numbers perspective was he's doing like 5 calls a day. We tripled. He was doing 5 calls a day.
Okay.
And then we tripled that number, right? So we went to 30. We went to like 30 plus calls a day. Okay. And he just like out of nowhere. Not only this, two amazing things happened. The business started making more money. They started getting more accounts, right? Because everyone was scared of COVID. Nobody was willing to make the calls. He had a proper procedure of how he would work and interact with like the building. So he knew what to prepare for. And then on top of it, they increased their prices.
Nice.
So then what they did is they learned how to say no to specific companies or property management companies or clients that weren't willing to invest, and start like going after like the big fish. Right. And then the benefit of that for him is like, he then made himself a remote employee. He took his income as sole, like, so for the business, like, he wanted to pay his employee like $100K a year. Within like less than 6 months, he pretty much put himself in a position to then be making $100K. He got the business owner to then be like, you know what, you're crushing it. Now I just need you to maintain these accounts, and then we're going to keep growing from there.
Yeah. Yep.
You see it?
Yeah, man. COVID changed a lot of things.
It did.
You had to change the way you did business, period. Like if you didn't adapt, you're just going to fall behind.
100%. A lot of people became the victims, right? They let other things and external things stop them. And I get it too. Like fear is there, right? I think I'm not trying to acknowledge someone's fear, discredit the fear, but fear is always like a lack of information and knowledge, and I'm like, man, and I'm not going to curse on this, but I'm like resourceful as F, man. Like, if there's a way to do it, I will figure it out, and if I don't figure it out, I'll go to sleep, I'll meditate on it, I'll go on a walk. It's going to come to me because I'm looking for it. You
know what the end result is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like these guys got to see their businesses as successful. You got to, like, if you're in the truck doing everything, wearing all hats, you got to see yourself with an office, with an admin. You got to see yourself with crews. You got to envision all this. You got to see your branding. Like if you don't see where it can go, probably not going to go there.
No, it's not going to go there. And if you're constantly listening to, I put it this way. It's like, I think personally there's a consensus of people that subscribe to the news, subscribe to, information that's not very sensical, right? It's very distracting. Like, it's like you hear about the Diddy case and you're like, it's like that's the last thing I want to hear about. Yeah, right. It's like I don't need to know about that. What I need to know about is like how can I grow my business? And I used to spend a lot of time in my car, and I remember when I was like managing my accounts and building my business, a lot of it was I had to get off the music and get off the world news, and then start really listening to like podcasts. I personally think, for example, like me getting the opportunity to train a really influential person's sales team really came from me listening to how they talk, what's important to them, right? It's like these things just don't happen by coincidence.
Their language.
Exactly, right? And talking about like podcasts outside of this amazing podcast, but like what else do you listen to that really kind of helps shape how you think?
So like right now, it's not that I don't listen to music. I love music, but I minimized it a lot, and so I won't even listen to music right now until I've listened to a couple hours. Like right now, I'm probably listening to like 2 or 3 hours of an audiobook every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I get up super early, and I really don't have anywhere to go until like 8 o'clock. I start getting my son ready for school.
Yeah.
I got like 2-3 hours there where I could just kind of focus. The house is quiet, so I just turn it on. And then I started habit stacking. So like if I'm in my sauna, I'm going to be listening to it, or if I'm on the road driving, I'm going to be listening to it.
Yeah.
And after I got a couple hours in, now I can listen to some music.
Yeah. No, it's like I like that because it's you're training your mind to like see, like this experience, like, music is a treat, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let me go fill my mind with all the right things to think about so then I can enjoy it. Cause I like to enjoy things. Don't get me wrong. Like I like going to concerts. I really enjoy music. I think that part of being a business owner and being able to experience that stuff when you want to is really important. I was kind of curious too, cause I mentioned in the very beginning about, like what's the mindset like for you, once you scaled over 1 million and you're working and creating your second business, talking to business owners that are in the same place as you right now that are thinking, like, I want to diversify myself, but I need to have the right things in place. What does that look like for you?
Can you rephrase that one more time?
Oh, yeah. So being that you have multiple businesses, right? And someone that's listening that's thinking about adding a new layer into their business, what is your thought process before you make that decision?
Well, like I'm in a position now, like maybe going back a few years ago, like I wouldn't have been in a position to open up multiple businesses because it's not always the answer. Like sometimes the answer is really doubling down and focusing on what you're doing right now.
Correct.
Because sometimes it could get to where you're too spread out, focused on too many things.
Yeah.
And then that main thing's not successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like personally, I feel like you should focus on a main thing first and then get massive success into that. And then once you're successful with that, that's when you should diversify.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't do it if I didn't have partners. So like now I pretty much won't start another business. I only got one business that's solely mine. I won't start another business without a partner. I just probably won't do it.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, you shouldn't partner. It's always a disaster. That's not the case. Like, you got to really know who you're partnering with and their integrity. And like in my case, I got 12 years under my belt knowing my partners before I ever partnered with them. So, but there are people out there. It's just you can't just pick anybody.
No, I agree. You got to kind of pre-qualify. And it sounds like you've had the time to like pre-qualify these people.
Yeah. So, if it wasn't for that, it'd probably been a bad idea for me to just pick any Joe Schmo to start multiple businesses with.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a really believer in kind of really focusing on one thing and making it great. I think even Alex Hormozi said that. He had all those, 9 different businesses and he scaled it down. But now he's in a position where he's, could have multiple again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like incredible. They've got acquisition.com where they have the ability of, the thing I really enjoy what he does is he gives you the roadmap, and I think like that's the biggest thing is like business. There's so much free information out there, and it's really important you find a person like specifically like yourself and all the resources you have for business owners to really engage in those things, because again, it takes an investment, not only of time, but of resources. But if you really want to make it to the next level, it's, you know, like that mindset of like, I'm already there, find the person that's doing the thing that I want to do. And then like, man, I better hire them or figure out how to be in that circle or in that room.
You know what I noticed a lot with a lot of people? They care too much what others think. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
and they're looking at the wrong people. Like you're asking, like it could be their spouse or their girlfriend that they just met 6 months ago, and oh, I don't think you should do that.
Yeah.
You know, and so like they're taking advice from like the wrong people that hasn't been there and done it. And so it's just when I first started my company, you know, I was broke. I'd lost everything. This is going back like 12 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe longer, probably about 15 years ago. But I had no vehicle, and here I am starting a gutter company. All I got's a trailer and a machine.
Yeah.
You know, so you can imagine how many people were like, "What are you doing? Just go get a job." And you know, because I had like a 6 month period where I had no vehicle, and I'm borrowing a vehicle just to get the trailer somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, like I know what I could do with this, and so like I was pretty headstrong, and it was pretty easy for me because I'm just like, no, you know, screw you, I could do this. But it's hard for a lot of people because you have these other influences that are telling you that you can't. They're telling you that you shouldn't do that. Like, no, I don't think you should put money into advertisement right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And it's nutty to think to yourself, like, it's like, you know, and there's no disrespect, right? Like, you know, you love your spouse, you love the people that you're with, but they're not going to be the best advisor for your business. I think a lot of times the support that you need is someone to push you. You know, I think that's what we're looking for. And I get it too, because when people share things, it's from their own perspective and love.
Right.
But you're 100% right. Like that's
fears.
Yeah. Like you're letting someone else play into the fear of the experience. But it's like, you know, I like to tip on the other end, like swinging for the fences. Like, what if this does work out? What if I do make it? What if I do try and this thing becomes what I need it to be? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got to make it like not an option. Like it's going to make it. And I'm going to figure out how and kind of just change and shift until I get there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes it's like, we're not built like that in the very beginning. There's this, really cool thing I'll kind of share with you. It's the voices in your head. So there's three voices in your head. There's the voice of other. So the voice of other is like your parents, your family, your friends, right? Like people you knew growing up from like high school up. So that's like an internal voice that you have. Then there's your second voice, which is fear, which, you know, can be a positive thing in certain like fight or flight situations, like don't do that. But when I'm talking about business, it's like, it's the actual voice of like, this is the worst case scenario. This is what's going to happen if you take this chance. Like, don't do that. Like you're going to hurt yourself in the long term. And then I believe, to me, the one I always try to listen to is my higher self, like my connection to God, to the universe, whatever you believe. So it's like, you know, when you wake up and you hear that like loud voice, like you need to go and do this right now, or you get that feeling from your gut when you're like, this is a gut feeling I need to act on. Like that's your higher self. Yeah. And so you gotta understand, it's like, so you've got three voices battling inside of your head, and you're trying to drown out. They're getting drowned out by your, you know, they're getting drowned. Your higher self's getting drowned out by two external.
Almost like two wolves and one angel.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, I to me, the process in order to get to that space is really to get really clear on what you want. So it's like I always start from the, you know, to reframe my mind. I go with like, what do I want? What's the process in order for me to receive it? What happens once I get it? Like, how will this affect my family, my business, like future framing? And then I ask myself the tough one, which is like, what's the consequence? Mm-hmm. If I don't take this chance, you know, am I better off going to Vegas and putting this all on red or black? Or am I better just putting this on the marketing that I know I need to spend on so I can learn those lessons? Because that's what life is about. It's about learning lessons to move you forward. If you're in resistance to learning those lessons, then you're in resistance to growing your business. Yeah. And that is always like the way that I like to reframe my mind and reframe with clients I work with on, you know, let's think about what is possible and not what is not possible. What voices are in your head? Like who's talking, right? Because a lot of times, man, I've seen it. People be making business decisions from their moms. They're from their mama. Like their
Yeah.
mom, this experience of their mom telling them you shouldn't do this because, you know, they grew up with a little bit of like, I grew up poor, you
Yep.
know, I don't say poor. My mom would be mad if I said that. I grew up pretty
We
medium.
didn't have money either.
You know, my mom was buying Kmart jeans, man. So that's
Yeah.
where we used to shop for our clothes.
My mother didn't buy anything, man. I remember like she just took care of the kids and like she had the same clothes for like years and years.
The hand-me-downs. Oh
Yeah.
man, I was the firstborn, so I got a little bit lucky. I got a little bit blessed with the good stuff here and there.
Yeah.
But the one thing that she told me a lot of the times, and this is a positive thing, right? And I know not everyone's experience is the same, but it's like there's a song by the Americans. It's like you can do magic, you can do anything, you know, your heart desires.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of my mantra. But if I have a negative mantra of someone, you know, like for example, like don't spend money or don't do that, because that used to be a voice in my head too. I realized that that voice was no longer in service to me. And what I mean by that, it's like I literally realized like I can't be thinking like I'm broke. I need to think as if I had all the money.
Mentality.
Exactly. If I had all the money, what actions could I take that would create the best result? And that's where your higher voice is, because it's like everybody wants you to win technically, you know, until you win, right?
Yeah.
But
So
it's
you're
like
winning more than them.
exactly, especially your competition, right? And I know it's a spicy world out there, right, in the gutter space. But you know, it's like, how do you set yourself apart? And it's just constantly seeing yourself as a winner, constantly seeing yourself as a provider, and then knowing that every challenge that comes in your way is meant to teach you something. And I preach that from the rooftops all the time. Is there's no such thing as like there's no such thing as a negative experience. It's a lesson. It's not an L. It's a lesson that you need to learn. And what I also look for is patterns a lot of times, right? Because if you keep creating if you're doing the same thing again and again, and it keeps creating the same result, then that means it's time to change something.
You gotta be self-aware.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do too, to like sit there and look at yourself from like a higher perspective.
Oh yeah. But that's where the networking comes into such a play, because you stop thinking like yourself and you start learning how to think differently.
And you'll notice that everyone that's very successful, they all have a different perspective in life than just your average human being.
Yeah.
Like at the last convention I went to, I met a guy, super, super successful, multimillionaire.
Mm-hmm.
The guy spent, and he was open about it, he spent $250,000 per year on coaching. Not necessarily one coach, but multiple coaches in like different areas of his life.
Yeah.
So like, here's this guy, I mean, spending a lot of people don't even make that much, and he's spending this much just to learn knowledge. And he's already multimillionaire, and he's still doing that. Always growing and improving.
Yeah.
So it's like they have a different perspective, and you start to realize it when you start surrounding yourself with, people where you want to be.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That was honestly like the biggest transformation in my business, is when I stopped becoming an employee and I took a chance on myself. I remember my first coach, I was like, it's going to take this investment over this period of time. I didn't even know where the money was going to come from, but I just felt like if I don't do this, then I'm always going to be in a 9-to-5. Mm-hmm. Like this is going to be my life, Did
you have naysayers when you first started?
Man, I still have naysayers, they're, but like I realized that I need them, because I need them because I know who I am and I know how I'll show up. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to let that voice of the other like win.
Yeah.
Because I've already gotten a taste of the fruit of like success, man. It's like, closing one of my big first deals where I'm like, you know what? I just match my income to my corporate job and I'm working half the time.
Right.
I'm out of here. And I'm taking a chance on this because now I've proven to myself that I can actually do this. Mm-hmm. But it took a lot of trial and tribulations, right? It took me hiring a coach to start thinking completely different. It took a coach to show me about my behaviors, my emotional state. I used to be very emotional when negative things would happen. And, like I some past experiences that were, I was letting them dictate who I was. Mm-hmm. And I thought at one point, I was like, if I could change this story about myself, this would be the coolest book. This would be the greatest thing that I could ever personally accomplish. So I'm just going to do that.
You're working on a book now, aren't you?
I am actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's yeah, definitely. So I'm still working out on the names, and the release date is TBA. I'm having one of my mentors take a look at it, but it's essentially how to properly like network. You and I network through a group of people, or like through a friend, a mutual friend, and yeah, exactly. And it now we're here on this podcast talking about things to help other people, and where that started for me was specifically, I was in retail for a number of years, and I was one of the fastest growing employees at Verizon and at Amazon. And one of the biggest things I realized about myself was like, I'm actually really good at talking to people.
Yeah.
I'm like, not too bad. And what I'm really good at is identifying what's important to them so I can build trust. Right. I mean, so much that, for example, I was on a flight back from California. This guy openly pulled up, he paid to connect to the internet, and he shows me his entire portfolio, $2 million that he's trading and how he trades it. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how did I just get into this conversation? This guy's financially.
He's showing you.
Yeah. And he's like, but he's trusting me. Right. So that was like, I was like, oh, so there's something I'm doing correctly that builds trust in people. And so I want to be able to teach people how to do the same thing. And my intention is always positive. Like, you know what? I'm not the smartest person. I don't need to be the smartest person. All I can be is me. And I want to connect with people that are doing amazing things and show me what experiences I haven't experienced in the world. And so that's where networking started coming into play, where I started finding myself in rooms that I didn't even think I needed or belonged in. And then I had to go through the mental head trash of realizing, you know what? The universe is trying to give me a sign like, bro, this is where you're supposed to be.
Right.
So we all have moments like that where someone reaches out to us and they're doing the thing that we want and we want to connect with. And my goal is to bring you the step-by-step process on how to do that. Like when I meet a person, I unconsciously I look at the shoes they're wearing, the hat they're wearing, you know what I mean? I try to, because it's like you're a business owner, so you're going to wear your business on some capacity, right? Or your favorite team. Yeah. And that's my way of genuinely connecting with you. I'm like, hey, tell me about that hat, or tell me about that. It's like, oh, is your team the Seahawks?
Conversation starters?
Exactly, right? But organically, because it's like, what's important to people? 3 things: family, work, or hobbies. Mm-hmm. So I like to talk about those things because that's what humans do. Like I want to trust you, right? Right. So in order for me to trust you, I got to get to know you, and I need to get to know, like, maybe we have something in common that we'll connect with. And
people
so
like talking about themselves or things that they're into.
Exactly. So I trigger the conversation for them to talk about themselves. And I've read this book. I'm kind of going through it right now. It's by Chase Hughes. This is a really good book. It's called the Ellipsis Manual. Let's see.
Send that to me later.
Yeah, man, it is. Talk about human psychology and understanding behaviors. Like that to me is the most interesting thing. It is a part of my job as a coach, right? But I want to understand like how to connect with people genuinely. I want to build relationships for the long term, not the short term. And what I've learned it the good way, and I've learned it the bad way. The good way is maintaining those relationships and staying in those connections. I used to write notes about people that I would connect with because we all have something in common. So I got a buddy of mine. He's a big gun guy. Mm-hmm. Like he's got a collection. I got a collection. So me and him will chat every so often, but then it also leads into business conversations. Right. You remember telling me about, you're big into kayaking.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm convinced now that you might need to start something, but like a lot of millionaires like to kayak. I'm just noticing.
Really?
That. Yeah. You're like the second one. I'm pretty sure that there was going to pop up here soon, but you're like the second, like millionaire or multimillionaire that I've talked to. I'm like, is this like a millionaire thing? Is this?
I just love it.
You know what I mean? Being out in the water and stuff like that, So, I try to find these things to build genuine connection. And then the other thing I like to do too is, so I went to this event back in Florida. It was a big selling conference, sales con. And I actually had gotten invited by one of my previous clients, and he's now he's actually traveling, like, talk about doing the work. This guy's traveling Europe for 3 months with his new wife. Wow. So I'm so excited for him, but he committed to doing the work. And that's what I always challenge my clients to do. Is like, if you do the work, the universe will respond, God will respond, and you'll start getting what is yours. But going into the intention of networking, this is what I did. This is what we did, right? So we go to this event and we're talking, And I was like, hey man, we got to set an intention, a really clear intention of what we want to get out of this. And I was like, I want to talk to at least 8 people, 5 really dope people that I can actually connect with, that we have some hobbies that I can, like, I could be, you and I are bros, so we can be friends, right?
Yeah.
And then the other 3, I wanted to be like 3 potential like clients. And that was my goal at this networking event. That was like my only goal. And I exceeded that number. So I ended up meeting like, I think like 16 plus people over the course of 3 days. You know, it was over like 40 something people I ended up talking with. And, you know, some of the people that I talked with, you know, you won't maintain the relationships, just
right.
It happens. Right. But that's how I got onto coaching a bunch of salespeople. That's how I got connected to, you know, doing a training on self-sabotage for a fractional CFO's business in his school account, you know? And so then I'm like, I'm not questioning it anymore. I'm realizing like, you have to be really clear on your intentions, because, you know, there's a guy that was there. He was wearing a cat shirt, and he was wearing a shirt like this, like a button-up shirt, but it was a black shirt that had a bunch of cats on it. and it actually smelled like cat piss, man.
Oh shit.
I was like, what are the odds? I was like, are you kidding me? And then I'm thinking I know it's horrible, man, but I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, this is what happens when you don't set the intention, right? The universe is gonna test you. I said I want this thing, so the universe is gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna give you some things to see if this is what you want. So the guy ended up being a great guy, but his mindset was really off. He wasn't a business owner. He was looking for a job. He's been beaten down because he feels like he's in the victim mindset, like he's not getting what he wants in life. And so he's on this like spiral. It's a bunch of head trash. And when I say head trash, it's like when you have negative thoughts, things that don't make any sense, that are not real to reality.
People get addicted to that stuff too.
Man, you know what's funny? If I notice that right away, I back out, because you can't save. You know, like how you talked about, like you want to bring your friends up with you. You can't save them, man.
It took me a long time to learn that.
Man, it's painful too, right?
Well, because you see where they're going wrong and you want to fix it. And so it's kind of painful because like you feel it kind of, or at least I do.
You remember you're having like PTSD from your experiences of like, dang, I was going through that, bro. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. And then you see him do, and you're like, oh. Yeah. And then, but you also have to remember that the reason they're not getting the results is because they're not either putting in the work, they're not investing in the mentors, they're not investing in, you know, what's actually important to them, you know? And I think like that's the level up, right? Like that's what I want people to take away from networking, is that networking doesn't need to be weird or like confusing. Set the intention of what you want. I want to meet some really good people I can connect with, that I can share something in common. I keep it super simple. Identify in that conversation, what are the 3 things that are important? Is it work like me? Are they a workaholic? You know, they have kids that are in sports. Maybe that's important to them. Or is it just like their hobby? Like, what's the thing that they enjoy doing, right? Is it kayaking, right? Or is it like going out to the range, you know, with the boys and stuff like that? So that is like my mindset around like, you know, like, again, like that's like a little snippet of the book. Yeah, exactly. If you really break it down, it's human connection. And you know, kind of going back to the Ellipsis manual, it's like analyzing and engineering human behavior. Like as I get older, as I become more aware of my business, I understand, and I look at what the best people are doing, because they're giving you like little nuggets of success. So my job in life is to collect all those nuggets and start applying those things in my life. Like very simply, you know? So what, you know, like, I mean, you could probably think of some times too, like where you felt really challenged and then, you know, you found something. Is there anything that comes to mind for you of like an experience of like where you took a chance on yourself?
Yeah, I guess the biggest chance I ever took on myself, I was a kid when I took it. My arm was paralyzed. I don't know if you know that.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I paralyzed it one time. I was never supposed to use it again.
Wow.
But I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I was supposed to get a surgery, and the surgery was supposed to maybe fix my nerves, because at this point everything was paralyzed from the arm down, my whole hand, everything, left arm. And the surgery is supposed to be the only chance of repairing the nerve. Maybe it would give me some, you know, something back. and I had a 6-month window to do it, and I declined it. And like, you know, I don't know how, because I was a kid. I think it was almost like a delusion, because like, I don't know, I was delusional. But I didn't see myself not using my hand again. So like I never took it inside me what the doctor was saying. Like they were saying, you're never going to use your arm again. But I really never felt that way. Like I felt that I was.
Yeah.
So like that was the biggest chance I ever took, was not doing that. But it was definitely because I knew in my heart that I was going to use it again. That's why it happened. You know, and that's why you got to see your business where you want it.
Yeah.
You don't, like, you're not going to get there, because if I would have taken what he said, I just want to try, bro. And it took a lot of effort. It was like 3 years of rehabilitation.
Wow. I feel that, man.
Yeah.
That's real. Yeah. You're just taking a chance on yourself. Like the voice in my head of Bob Proctor just like pops in my head. He's like, life is risky. He's like, if you're not, he's like, anything you do is risky. But he's like, doing nothing is risky, you know? And I just remember thinking, I was like, you know, life is risks, right? But man, do you only have this one chance to do this thing?
You know, honestly, I think that like a lot of people are afraid of starting businesses or, you know, launching their gutter company. They feel it's risky. But honestly, man, it's so much more risky to put your hands and your life in someone else's hands.
100%.
You know, because what if they screw up their business? Like now you're out of a job. You're going off to the next place. Like at least in business, when you fail, you could fix it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could pivot and you're learning. So you're getting better as you go. And so like it becomes more secure because you end up having so much faith in yourself.
It's the only way, man.
Yeah.
You have to have faith in yourself. I like that saying. It's like faith is the currency of the universe. Like without faith, right? You know, we're looking at, we just like it's like going back to the victim mindset. It's like
we have nothing without it.
Yeah, that's well said. Because it's like the more chances you take, the more opportunities that will be in front of you. I used to do this training called ATA, so it's like always taking action. So the exercise was to like look at yourself and like, where am I taking the most action, and then where am I taking the least amount of action? Because for every action there is a result. And so, you know what, there's so many complexities to it, but to simplify, it's like, you know, your emotion is going to be a piece of it. So I know I'm going to get emotionally scared making this decision. So then that becomes the trigger for me to always do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember signing up for this mastermind event, and I'll be honest, man, I was like, I think, you know, like at the time I was like, I don't know where the money's going to come from. It's like, I have no idea. Like I'm sitting there just thinking like, oh man, I really don't know where the money's going to come from. I was really, really in this like fear space. But then I just thought, you know what, maybe if I'm crazy and I'm lucky, that this will actually happen. And you know what? It did. I remember getting like my first client paid in full, and I was like, yo, okay, so then what did I do to get there? So then what do I need to do again? And it's like, I need to make some more scary investments. I need to go find the next big thing to grow from. And just trust, you know, like just trust and hope that, you know, and I think what also does help is the mentors, man. Like I'm a big fan of it. I think even having business partners is a great opportunity too, because you get to bounce ideas and learn from each other and be very direct on like, what are you trying to do and what are you trying to accomplish? So, you know, it's like a combination of things that you have to be willing to take a chance on to get the result. Because again, I'd rather live this life knowing like, hey, I started this thing and then it didn't work out. Right.
Yeah.
Versus like sitting in my head, you know, working a 9 to 5, going to the bar, and then I'm just like drinking about with my, you know, the same guys that didn't do anything, you know, talking about Michael Jordan stories. Like I used to play with Michael Jordan back in the day, you know, it's like, I could have started this business, but I didn't. And man, that's like, I really appreciate being able to talk to you about that, because you're living it, you're experienced it, you went through the hardship, but you didn't let the hardship define you. You let the vision define you.
And like, you know, the things that you do want to define you are like your wins. So like I could always go back to that and be like, yo, you did this. You can do anything.
Yeah.
We're close to it, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Man, I'm excited to read your book, man. It's going to be epic.
I'm three chapters into it, but I haven't written in like 2 years, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I got a good 3 chapters. So I don't know. Eventually I'm going to circle back around to it.
Yeah. When you got some time on the beach, man, or where you're kayaking, is probably a good time, just
I'll send you what I got. So you can yeah.
I'd love to check it out, man. That would be really cool. Yeah. Cause just hearing your story about like, for a second, I didn't know if your arm was going to move, but even though I've seen you move your arm before, and then you moved it in the story, I was like, oh, okay, all right. So,
you know what, bro?
Yeah.
And I had a point to prove, but 4 years later, I was about 18. I was bench pressing 375. I can't do it now, but then I was.
Yeah. I did.
I had to start off with 2-pound dumbbells, like. Well, first off, I had to be able to clench my fist, and that was like a whole year to do that. But when I could, I started off with 2-pound dumbbells, and I was struggling.
Yeah.
And so I had to catch up first. And, once I did that, I'm like, man, I got something to prove and get going,
Yeah. Well, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, that really, man, getting to know you more, I can see like why you take that experience into everything you do in your business. It's like, everything takes time in a process, and you have to learn patience. And I think when you understand patience with yourself and in your business, that's when things really start to happen. Like you need to make rapid action, talk to as many people about what you do. You know what I mean? If it's cold call, do the thing that's uncomfortable, but build it. And then when you start to put the people in place, it really comes together.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So I got about 10 minutes and I got to go pick up my son.
Oh yeah. Good. Well, man, Tim, I really appreciate it. I think, cause we're close on time, but, thanks again for having me as a guest. I'm really happy to, really share with people about, like mindset of, what it takes to be a 7-figure owner. And, I think even if you're not there yet, like what steps you need to take to get there. And, your personal story is really truly testament, man. Like it's really awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wasn't easy, but
yeah.
Kiva, so what do you think the number one thing is for someone who wants to kind of change your mindset and get into the right mindset for success? What is that like one gold nugget that's really sticks out to you that you feel like would be most impactful for them to know?
I think the first one is kind of that exercise I mentioned before. It's get really clear on what you want. Like you gotta strip off all the ego and everything, and you just need to have your mind in the sky. Like I had this millionaire tell me one time, he's like, you got to be so audacious about your dream that it makes people uncomfortable. So what do you want? And then think about a clear roadmap, because when you ask yourself these questions, you already know the answers. It's like, what's the process I need to take in order to get it? Do I need to go to networking events? Do I need to reach out to somebody that's doing it? Do I need to just actually start, right? Like go get the truck, start.
It's probably half the battle for most people.
Exactly. You just have to start. It could be the ugliest thing, but it's like, you just have to start, and you'll be surprised how it always works out. Right. And never question the universe, and never question God. Like if you get that sign where it's like, this is it, keep going, because you're going to have some trials and tribulations, but you know that it works. Now you just got to keep repeating it. Right. So it's like, what do you want? Very clear vision of that without any restraint. What's the process in order for you to get it? What happens once you get it? So you need to live in the future, and you need to embrace yourself with, if like for me, man, like my next car that I want to buy is the Ford Raptor, right? Nice. With the R on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not the twin turbo one, right? So in my mind, it's like, I think about, like that's what I want. So I need to impact this many people in order for me to receive it. Easy, right?
You envision yourself driving it?
Oh man, I'm gonna go to the dealer. I've sat in them, I've driven them, dude. I know what it feels like. Even when I'm driving my Lexus around, I still think about like being in that car. My mind automatically tunes, like that when you see inanimate objects, you drive that same car, and you notice how your awareness will always pick it up.
You start seeing them everywhere.
Yeah. But I train my mind to do that with clients.
Oh, I like that.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So instead of me focusing on the car that I want, I focus on the clients that I want, the opportunities that I want. So instead of using this like gift of being able to see these inanimate these cars just driving around, I'm like, well, let me use the power of the mind to focus it on what I want. Makes sense? So if anything, if I was to synopsis in one, I would just say that, like straight up, like focus your mind on the thing that you want, follow the steps. What do I want? What happens once I get it? What's the impact it'll make? And then the last one you have to ask yourself, if I don't make this change, am I going to be okay with it? Am I okay being broke? Am I okay like not chasing my dream?
There's going to be nothing worse than regret.
Exactly. And so, if
we only have a little bit of time, we're really not here that long.
We're really not here that long. And I think it too. It's like the older you get, man, like the time just like goes by at light speed, man. And when you have kids, it's like even faster. And you really don't want to look back and, I got really blessed with just like my personal experiences, but looking at how my parents were raised and what they wanted for me, now what I want for my kids. Right. And so, I'm incongruency. I have to do these uncomfortable things because it's what I want.
Right.
Yeah. I know it's super long-winded, man, but
no, man, I love it. That's exactly what people want to hear. And it's hard to sum it up in one sentence. So, I mean, it's a process, and you got to know what you want. You got to feel that you'll be there. You got to envision it, and then you got to make it happen.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you follow that step over and over and over again, it works out. The only reason it never works out for people is because they give up.
So true.
That's it.
It's actually, I got it tatted on my, I don't know if you can see it, but
yeah, I can.
Winners never quit.
Man, see? So
my grandfather preached that into me. That's another thing. You should speak life into people. Like I had that positive aspect in my life, and I had my grandfather like always telling me, Timothy, a winner never quits, a quitter never wins, and birds of a feather flock together. But he was always like speaking life into me. And when you do that, like it's really impactful. If you do that to your employees, you're going to impact them. You're going to have a better business for it. So I mean, it's one thing my partner's really good at, John Majak. Like I was on a plane with him a while back, and the attendant's coming down, and the attendant's doing like a super great job. I'm not paying attention to it. I'm just do my thing, but he recognized that guy, and like that guy's face lit up. He like spoke life into him, and so I think that's important.
No, I agree with you, man. That's also another skill I practice a lot. It'll probably be in the book, is practicing it out, is acknowledging people.
Yeah.
Even if it's a Starbucks person, like you have to acknowledge people. It goes a long way, man. I do it at the gym all the time. Like even if it's a guy that I don't know and we're just having to make eye contact, I'm like, what's up, bro? Just like, take advantage of that. Right.
It's a lot farther than you think.
It really does. It really does. One last thing I want to say too is your health is your wealth in your business. You're talking about going kayaking. I have the luxury to work out, 5 days out of the week.
Yep.
And I scheduled it that way because I realized, like I'm one of the biggest drivers of my business. I don't always want to be, but when you're first starting and where you're at, it's important that you stay healthy. Like you eat the right foods, you do the right things, you really take care of your body,
More important than everything. Like this podcast took me a couple tries to even get on here with you because I had that nerve thing going wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I was fine. And then as soon as one thing went wrong, it like totally disrupted my life.
Man.
But I'm going back to Muay Thai tonight. So I'm feeling pretty decent.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you something, man, that will change you on. I have it right here because I use this as well. It's a laser. It's called a solar wave laser. Have you seen these?
Is that like the red lights?
It's better than that.
Is it? I have the red lights.
This one is really interesting. So you can change the settings in it. And like I use this on my brain. I use this you can use this for fat loss. You can use this for like I got like an injury on my arm, and what you do is you just like laser it. So it has like preset settings in there that you can put in there.
Yeah.
You laser the specific area in your body, and it will, like I'm telling you,
You can focus it more than the big light, right?
exactly. These things were actually used by the Russians in the Olympics, and they found they one time at one point, they have different variations of these lasers. So I'll send you the good ones too.
Yeah.
There's some are like 20K. So this one's like around like 4K,
Wow.
but it's worth it, right?
Wow. Yeah.
The Russians were using this in the Olympics, and they almost deemed it as a performance enhancer. But since it wasn't something they were ingesting, it was like lasers for muscle recovery.
So they couldn't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
When they start to try to ban stuff, that's when you know it works.
Yeah, exactly. And they were onto it, right? Like
Yeah.
I do like red laser therapy and stuff like that. But this one, you know, like not to take too much time, it has a lot of great settings in here that are specific to certain areas. Like if you have like gut issues, if you have just to give you like, you can preset it to, so if you have like liver, you know, if you had a couple whiskeys, right? Any inflammation. So if you had inflammation, if your kid got hurt or hit or something like that, and you want to help with the recovery, this does a great job. My mom came in recently and love that lady. You know, she's having a bunch of headaches and stuff. And instead of taking Tylenol, we just lasered the front of her forehead.
Yeah.
It was fine, man. So, you know, I'm not selling that machine, by the way. I'm just a huge advocate, just so you know,
Yeah.
for only $5.99 a day, not like that. But I'll send you the details on that in the book, man, because those, you know, like your health, man. It's like, what are you putting in your mind? What are you putting in your body? How are you taking care of yourself? Those are all so important.
No, I can't agree more. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on there, brother.
Hey, man. No, I appreciate us finally getting this thing connected. So
If someone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
yeah, so anyone that interested, is you can see my name, Kiva Geiger. If you search me up on Google, you'll find my Instagram and my Facebook. If you want to connect with me, I'll just tell you my number. My number is 253-353-9693. Again, that's 253-353-9693. You can reach out to me directly, chat with me one-on-one. Love to connect and learn about your business and who you are. And you know, one of the biggest things that I focus on, again, is, you know, helping entrepreneurs think at the highest level. I work with sales teams as well too. If you're in the gutter space and you want your account manager to be crushing it, I'm your guy. You call me, I'll show you exactly how to coach them, how to get them accountable to the results, and then start leveling up your business. And you know, if you need a sales guy that just needs to find out where those opportunities are, you know, I can help you do that as well too.
Good deal, man. I had fun on here, so we'll have to do this again.
Man, we'll have to again. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. I'll see
All
you.
right, man. See you later.